All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mike Files, 52 miles east of Yellowstone Park in Coyote, Wyoming. Lots of big things going on today. We have the Wicked Witch of the West landing in Taiwan, allegedly. And apparently they sounded off the air sirens and everything like that, like there was an air raid going on. There's a lot of history to this thing, you know. And I don't quite frankly understand why Pelosi's even over there. I mean, I have a feeling that she's invested in the superconductors. She's been to Singapore, right, which, has a history with the United States. We've had good relationships with Singapore. Supposedly what she's talking about with all these different places. She's been to Japan. She stopped in Hawaii. So she's talking about trade, COVID, and of course, climate. Big, huge deal there. The climate change. You know, I don't know what she has to say about any of it. She's 80, it's 82? I mean, we've spent so far $90 million just in security for her little gallivant, okay? We just paid for Slow Joe to make his little sojourn over to the Middle East, where he went, hat in hand to beg for oil from Saudi Arabia, which didn't happen. Didn't get anything. He did get a fist bump out of it. Everybody made a big deal out of that. I don't personally care. What I do care about there is that he said that he was going to make Saudi Arabia out to be the pariah that they were under his presidency, and then he's going over there basically, begging for oil. If you watch the footage of Trump showing up in Saudi Arabia in Riyadh and the reception that he got, as opposed to Biden just pulling up and getting a little fist bump, I mean, it's quite a different tale of the tape, And I don't think by a damn sight that China would have made any kind of a threat, especially on the Speaker of the House, as much as we do or do not care for Nancy Pelosi. She's still the third in charge, which is a scary fucking prospect. I mean, to think that she's number three, well, I think that, first of all, it's a scary prospect any way you look at it, because you got number one, the number one guy. He's got, who knows what's going on with him. Allegedly, he's tested positive for COVID once more. And then there's stuff saying that he didn't, allegedly, and that he's fine now. And I mean, when he came out and talked about how you cannot be pro-insurrection and pro-United States, that speech was weird. Like, his eyes were all crossed and goony-birded. Like, I mean, he was acting really weird, allegedly. I mean, I guess it's not anything different than the status quo, though, with Joe Biden. I mean, he's wacky. He's wackadoodle any day of the week. You never know what you're going to get with him. One day he's challenging a push-up contest. The next day he's falling upstairs. You just don't know. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what he's going to say. He pulls the Ron Burgundy with the cue cards and just says wacky shit. I mean, he said, I think it was back in, I believe, this was back at like the end of May. He said that if Taiwan were to be attacked, that we would militarily defend them. Now, our relationship with Taiwan goes back quite some time. For me personally, it goes back to, I believe I was 15. And we traveled to Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, to play in a baseball tournament. And we played the Chinese Taipei national team. And that was a trip. I mean, the fans that came with them to Canada, they had the clackers. And if anybody's ever watched any Asian professional baseball games, they get quite animated and really into it. And we were 15, and they had a lot of guys on the team, and they had this one guy especially. They stayed in the same hotel as us. They had this one guy. He was a designated hitter. He was huge. And during the innings when they were in the field on defense, he would go all the way down the left field line, like in the bullpen. And he would sit out there and he'd yell. And then when they would get the third out, he would sprint to the dugout. And like these guys are all smoking cigarettes, and we're like 15. These guys are in there smoking cigarettes. The fans have all got their clackers. They're all yelling these chants. And he would go in the dugout, this big, huge DH, designated hitter. And he'd go in there and he'd start punching the ceiling of the dugout. And he'd yell shit this is what it sounded like. Okay. It was like, oh, hey. And he'd punch the thing, and then I'll go, hey. He'd yell these things over and over. While he's hitting the top of the dugout. And the guy really liked one of our players. And so we'd be at the hotel, and he'd be like chasing him around, but there was a language barrier, right? So we didn't know if we didn't know what was up, but if he liked the guy on our team or what the hell. It was a wild trip. Anyway, that's my interaction with Chinese Taipei, that baseball team. We played them a couple different times, and I played there's different. Asian baseball is different. Like I remember in college, we played against Doto University in San Diego at one point in time, and that was a trip too. Like the theatrics that they put on during baseball. I mean, like we were playing at Point Loma, and they had 2 different buses. Like they had like 60 guys on the team, which was crazy. Like we're doing warm-ups and shit, taking batting practice, infield, this, that. They pull up in these 2 big buses, and they got like 60 dudes get off. And they start going through this regimented warm-up shit that they're doing. I mean, I'm not calling it shit. I mean, it's the way they do it. But it was 60 guys. I mean, there's only 9 dudes on a field. And then the other buses got these cats that are dressed in traditional, like, it appeared to be Japanese military garb, right? Like they had like military-looking suits on, right? And they go up to this grass area, and they line up the way that a defense would be lined up on a baseball field. So you got a catcher, pitcher, first, second, short, third, left, center, and right field. And the guy who's standing where the catcher would be, he's got a big, huge flag. Like a flag that you would see at a Denny's, the big, huge American flags that are like you look at it and you go, dang, that's... And then you think, geez, if I took that thing down, I'd probably cover my whole house. So he's got one of these on a pole, and he's got like a waist, like a harness, like you would wear if you're doing some deep sea fishing, like if you're sword fishing, like where they strap you in the seat and you got a place for your deep sea fishing rod or whatever. So he's got that thing in there, and Point Loma's baseball field is right on the ocean. So over the fence is a cliff that goes down to the water. So like you're playing like up on a cliff that you go out to the outfield fence and you look down, there's water. So there's a breeze that comes in there. It's weird. It comes in from like all directions. Like it doesn't come in from left field. It comes in from like left, center, and right. It's really hard to get a ball out of that park. Like the first time I took batting practice there, I get up and everybody, I could hit a ball. Big deal. But I get up in batting practice before the first game we played there. I take a yak at one and I hit it. I know I got good contact, and I'm thinking, okay, it's gone. So I'm not even paying attention to it, right? I take my swing, follow through, get back in, look back, and then I hear everybody start like giving me heckling me a little bit. And I look and I see that the ball had fallen short of the fence, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, I just spanked the shit out of that thing. It's like, the next one, same thing. And I watched the ball go up in the air because I was notorious for hitting big, huge fly balls that would go out of the park, but they would go way the hell up in the air. I hit a golf ball the same way. And so I realized at that point in time that I had to, if I wanted to get one out of there, I'd hit it on the line. Anyway, I did end up hitting a home run against Doto University that year, but I had to hit it was a straight line drive. I mean, it was like maybe 30 feet off the ground to get it out of that park because it was so difficult. Anyways, these guys, they set up these male cheerleaders or whatever. I don't know what you call them, but I'm sitting there at first base, and the umpire's sitting next to me, and these guys start in, like, right before the first pitch of the game. And, like, our guy that's on the mound, like, he steps off the mound, he looks at me, and I look at the ump, and the ump looks at me, and we all just look like, what in the world? These guys are screaming bloody murder. And they proceed to do that throughout the entire game. I mean, we're in San Diego. It's not overly hot, but it's muggy, and it's 70, 75. You know, I mean, it's not, but they're wearing this garb that's pretty heavy. And they don't stop. They got a guy, the one guy's got the flag. The guy at the pitcher spot, he's got a bass drum that he's beating on, and these dudes screamed the entire game. Like, I looked at the umpire, and I'm like, what is, he goes, I can't hear you. I'm like, I walk up closer to him. I'm like, I don't know this umpire, right? We're in California. We're in San Diego. It's the first time I've ever been on this field. I'm like, dude, what is this? And he's like, I ended up calling timeout and brought all, we all went and met at the pitcher's mound. I was like, dude, okay, we got to have like hand signals here because we obviously are not going to be able to communicate verbally, And so we laid out, the hand signals or whatever we were going to have to use for the game, and we went after it, It was crazy, though. I mean, it was just nuts. Anyway, and that's Japan, so that has nothing to do with, different countries, obviously. I'm not trying to, say that all Asian, but the Asians take the baseball pretty crazy, and I think that having played against Chinese Taipei, seeing how they took baseball, and then you look at the situation that we got going on right now, I guess is what I'm trying to relate it to, is that there's some excitable folks, but we're also excitable in different ways. But they set off I'm going to play this little video here, because they put off like an air raid siren when Pelosi showed up. Now, I don't know what she's doing there. I don't know why. I don't know if she's got investments over there. I don't know. Okay? I don't know why we just spent so far $90 million in security. Just security alone. That doesn't include the cost of the fuel. I don't know how many jets are employed in the operation, but just security alone was $90 million. We don't have the 90. Where do we get this money? We can't put fuel in our vehicles. Like, we're having a hard time buying food in this country. Like, we're on borderline like third world country. Yet we're sending these 80-year-old people like that resemble Abe Simpson all over the country as these are our diplomatic envoys or what? They're just an embarrassment. You can't tell me that Pelosi's doing anything over there other than being an embarrassment. And you've got all these pundits on TV that are they're all of a sudden they're like, oh, way to go, Nancy. You showed them. We're not going to take that shit off these Chinese son of a bitches that think that they can tell us where we can and can't go. Well, we've had a deal with them since 1949. There was a civil war in China, right? You had Chiang Kai-shek, you had Mao Zedong, all right? Kai-shek loses, so he takes his whole bunch, and they go down to the island of Taiwan, and they set up what they claim to be the Chinese government. Well, Mao Zedong stays in Beijing, and they set up the People's Republic of China, or the CCP, whatever, the Communist Party, right? And so there's that. In 1979, they established the One China deal. And so we agree that Taiwan is part of China, right? So Taiwan is not its own sovereign nation. Taiwan is part of China. Now, they've been supposedly a democratic society, is what you all know why I feel. I'm not a communist, but democracy is definitely stupid, because when you got the masses, when you have majority rule, you end up with some dumb shit happening. I mean, quite honestly, we've got to be honest about that, because when you have when the masses are in charge, you are going to have inherently bad decisions being made, because, like I was talking about baseball games, and that's where I'm coming from, is like with things like this, people get emotional. And when you have emotion running the day, you end up with bad decisions. I mean, emotion has never been a driving force of necessarily good decisions. You know, I mean, we all want to sit here and you want to play up the Revolutionary War and all that, and there was a lot of emotion there, but there was also, I think, a lot of thought that was put in that as well. For better or worse, I don't know. 246 years into the experiment, it doesn't seem to be working out that well. I'm just saying. We've got, what they're calling over 9% inflation. I would say that it's probably closer to 20% inflation. That's just me. The numbers that they use, the way that they tally this up, I mean, they're obviously, the powers that be are obviously trying to minimize, the sticker shock on the whole thing. Okay. We've redefined what a recession is now, which is very interesting. Now all of a sudden a recession isn't what a recession used to be because of now now we have all these different, you had, what's his name, Krugman. Well, he was on Stelter, that potato head. You know who I'm talking about, Mr. Potato Head. Good looking dude. Like he looks like he probably unzips his suit from the back. Otherwise, I don't know how he'd get his head in that shirt. But they keep saying he's any day he's done at CNN, which, whatever, leave him there. Who watches CNN anyways? I mean, they long since quit being a news organization. I mean, they're about as they have about as much journalistic integrity as, I don't know, one of my boots. They're goofy. I tune in just to see what kind of nonsense they're saying, but it's usually not worth a shit. So anyway, I'm going to show, here's what allegedly happened when Pelosi comes in. Let me get some volume here, and we'll listen to this air raid. Maybe. Allegedly. Pelosi triggers internet silence. Oh, that's in China. Okay, that's not. Taiwan is China. There she is, flying that like that. So they let her land, apparently. What do you think the tab on the booze was on that? Because I saw one of those years back, and the flight she'd been on, and it was like over $100,000. Like, these fools weren't messing around. Like, they were drinking Johnny Walker Blue and shit. Like, they were getting down. They say that Nancy's a teetotaler, that she doesn't drink. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. I don't know. I don't know her. I know her husband does. Boy, they say she doesn't, but, I mean, she's doing something because her behavior certainly speaks to some kind of other thing. Maybe it's just psychopathy. I don't know. Anyway, so there she is. She landed, apparently. That's what they're saying. Now, you can make anything up anymore. I mean, I can sit here on my computer and I could fake her landing there. I'm sorry, I'm trying to re-velcro my remote control here. I don't understand what's going on with this whole thing. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. What, I mean, is she invested in? I mean, she's got to be invested in a lot of these countries. I mean, why are we sending her? I mean, there's nothing that can't be done via Zoom, Google Meet, any number of different things. Why are we spending this money? We're not in a recession, right? We're not in a not recession. We're in a recession, but we're not in a recession. Like, according to modern money mechanics, which kind of defines the way things work monetarily, which I downloaded and read yesterday. It's a 50-page document, which is very interesting. If you have time to spend, I'd recommend reading it. But it defines a recession as two quarters, in a row in which the GDP goes down. That's where we're at. But now, according to this administration and that bridge troll, Janet Yellen, and then what's his name, Krugman, whatever. Stelter asks him, "Are we in a recession?" He goes, "No." And Stelter's like, "Oh, that didn't take very long to sum up." It's like, wait, what? It's like there's no reasoning put behind his answer. I mean, how can you just sit here and say that? Okay, this guy said no, so that's it. We're done. Nothing to see here. Move along. Here we go. So, anyway, with the whole thing with this Pelosi thing, they said that if she shows up, that they could, certainly do military maneuvers and whatever to try and deter her, and if she persisted to try and land in Taiwan, that they could take her plane down. So that's kind of a threat. Sometimes in life you have to pick your battles. I don't personally see what the benefit of this is whatsoever. All these talking heads are all of a sudden behind Pelosi. Way to go, Nancy. Way to show them what's up. Trust me, if she's on that plane right there that we're seeing, she's scared to fucking death. You got to be kidding me. I mean, where would you be at with it? She ain't no goddamn, she's no military general, right? I mean, she ain't going to be there like, fuck them if they fucking say I can't fucking land here, watch this shit, hold my beer, right? Even if she doesn't drink, which supposedly she doesn't. I find that hard to believe, but that's just my personal opinion. So allegedly, she is a teetotaler. It's fine. Good for her. She likes ice cream. Maybe she's just eating her Haagen-Dazs. Well, she probably doesn't even succumb that low. She ain't eating any fucking Breyers. Like the Breyers Reese's peanut butter cup or what, I don't even know what's a high-end ice cream? I don't even know. I don't even eat fucking ice cream. I don't know. I had a bite of a Frosty the other day. And then what else? I think I had I did have a little bit of ice cream. For the first time in years. It was actually pretty good. But it wasn't no Nancy Pelosi ice cream, I can tell you that much. It was just some shit from Albertsons or Walmart or whatever. But it was pretty good. And then I think I had a scoop of Reese's peanut butter. Have you guys had that? That's pretty good. It comes in the can. It says Reese's. It's pretty good peanut butter. Pretty scary, pretty terrifying. Anyway, so she's been in Singapore. She stopped in Hawaii, Japan. Now she's in Taiwan. I don't know what she's doing. She's wandering around in Taiwan. The Chinese are obviously they're not happy about this. We've had an agreement with them about the One China thing. I believe that expires in 2028, and don't hold me to that. I'm just going off the cuff right here. I don't have notes or anything in front of me, so I'm just going off of memory. However, basically, we're not supposed to be having anything to do, but we've kind of had an ambiguous relationship with Taiwan over the years where we've had like a relationship with them business-wise, but that's been like the only thing kind of, but it's kind of not been. Like Newt Gingrich went there at one point in time, like 25 years ago, I think. Like I said, I'm just going off the cuff, so don't. That's allegedly, that's my memory, okay? I'm not saying this is absolute truth. I believe it was about 25 years ago. Newt went. Good old Newt. He's all in favor of this, of her showing up there. I personally, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea for the American taxpayer. Look at that jet she just flew in on. How much do you think that we just paid in fuel? For what? To send that old woman over there? To do what? Is this to further her investments? She's 82, for fuck's sake. I mean, what's she concerned about investments and money and shit? She's got to know that the end is coming. I mean, I understand that at 46 years old, I'm on the other side of the fence now, right? The things of certain things start to go south. you know, gray hair and, aches and pains and shit like that. And, I mean, it's harder to keep the weight off. It's harder to stay in shape. And I find myself doing things like, I just redid my entire 11,000 square foot yard within the last week between aerating and reseeding and everything. And I thought, it's no big deal. I've been hurting. Like, I can't get up anymore. I'm hurting. Like, my back is messed up. I'm eating the leaves and putting on ointments and shit and waking up just, usually it's like, okay, well, up out of bed. That's how I can't imagine at 82. I doubt I'll see 82. The way I've lived my life, 82 is probably that's probably a moonshot right there. I would think that if I reach that age, I'm probably not going to want to be around anyways. But you never know with shit like this going on. Seeing the next birthday for all of us might be, in question. You've got a lot of hotheads out there, that are, threatening all this, this nuclear wars and all this bullshit. And I just happen to think that, quite frankly, I can guarantee that if I was to sit down personally with some people from China, didn't speak any English, maybe we had an interpreter between us, because I certainly can't speak Mandarin. I can't do that. I can certainly understand and speak some Spanish, but as far as, speaking Mandarin, or any, Japanese or any Asian language, any Slavic language, I'm not going to happen. But I can guarantee that if I were to sit down with an interpreter, with some people from China, we would have a great conversation. I don't doubt it. I'd be curious about them. They'd be curious about me. We'd probably eat some of our own food, maybe, like here, this is what, and we get along just fine. But for some reason, we have these wars with these different countries, and it's not because of the people. It's not because of, I know plenty, I know tons of Chinese Americans. Love the people. Straight up. The Chinese Americans who live here in this town, I love those people. I love going into their, there's a couple different restaurants. Let's just face it, I'm not being fucking racist here. It's Cody, Wyoming. There's not a lot of Asian people here. There's not a lot of diversity out here. And it's because it's a sparsely populated place. The weather's unpredictable. It gets really cold. It gets really hot. There's a lot of wind. It's kind of a rough place. And so, you don't have a lot of diversity here. But I can tell you this, that any people that I know here that are, there's no problems. None whatsoever. I love them. They love me. I go in, I order food. It's great. I tip well. We smile. We say hello. They know my name. I know their names. The conversation is not that great because obviously there's a language barrier, but the thing is there's no reason for us to go to war, right? And as far as I'm concerned, they're just as American as I am, right? Who's to say? It's not my fucking place to say, well, I'm not, we're all immigrants here, or as Mo Sizlak from The Simpsons, it's them immigrants. But we all are, my family all came from Northern Europe. And what's the difference? My family showed up over here from, talking Norway, Sweden, England, the whole gamut. Ireland, Northern European. There's no difference between being a Northern European immigrant as there is to being a family that immigrated from Asia or Central America or South America or wherever the fuck it is. It doesn't matter, Russia or whatever, it don't matter. That's the idea of this country. So the fact that we've got these altercations with these other countries, it's not between the people. That's what's upsetting about it, because ultimately the people that pay the price in these things are the young people, right? Like, behind the whims and fancies and resentments of old men and bankers and economists come war, right? These are the people that decide when we're going to go to war. And typically, it comes down to some kind of a monetary deal, right? And so you have to look at these things. And you look at what, Russia and China made an agreement this last week. You have to look at that, okay? They're pretty much going out there against the petrodollar, which has been, the petrodollar has pretty much, has been, what's defined any kind of transaction between countries involving, petroleum. And since we put our sanctions that our lovely leader thought was going to be such a great deal, that has led to the Russian currency being the leading performing currency on the planet, now they've decided that they're going to sit down with China and they're going to go, hey, we're going to come up with a currency that is based in rare earth minerals, be that what it may, like be any number of things. Whatever it is going to be, though, it's going to be backed by something as opposed to the United States dollar, which is backed by nothing. It is backed by nothing. Our money is not worth a thing other than the fact that we have confidence in it. That's it. We make it up. And I know I go through this all the time. I'm trying to get people to understand this because it seems like every time I talk, to me, this whole concept, when I actually started doing a deep dive into the monetary system in this country and the history of the dollar and how we got to where we're at right now, it was really appalling to me. And for some reason, I don't get it. It seems appalling to me, but other people just don't really care. It's like, well, I've got my money in my bank account and I don't know, or whatever. I can go get what I want with it and I don't care. And it's kind of the attitude that I think a lot of Americans have. It's what I see a lot of. People they're just numb, and they don't want to know the truth. Like they'd rather just be like comfortably numb, to coin a Pink Floyd song, and they'd rather just sit back and just act like, the big bear isn't in the room, and pun intended, I guess, since we're kind of in a bear market right now, which most people wouldn't understand anyhow. But you take your, that's my bad motherfucker right there. So, yeah, I know I'm playing off of Pulp Fiction, but it's funny, and I've done this before. But let's see, what do we got here? Okay, 2009, brand new 100. This thing's brand new, 2009. Okay. Brand new 100, 2009. Brand new 100, 2009. Brand new 100, 2009. Brand new 100, 2006. Brand new. Now it doesn't have the little strip on it, but it's still brand new. Came right from the bank. Brand new 100. Ooh, 2017. That's the newest one I've had. So they talk about the money being printed and all this shit. Well, it's not. It's not. And all these wars and these confrontations and these skirmishes and these postures and these things that go on, it all comes down to money, does it not? Does the bottom line of all conflict. Now, I'm not a Christian, okay? I'm not saying that Christianity, I don't have a problem with it. That's just not where I fit in, okay? And much of the stuff that I believe, a lot of it does translate, So nothing against any of my Christian brothers or sisters or any other religion. I don't care. My magic man is no better than your magic man, okay? If you don't have a magic man, then that's fine too. But here's the deal. They talk about it in the Bible, and I've read the Bible through a couple of times, okay? And they talk about, everybody says money is the root of all evil. No, it's the love of money is what the Bible says, right? The love of money. And look at what that causes. Look at what that's caused in humanity. Money and religion are probably the two things that have caused the most death amongst human beings in recorded history. Probably since before recorded history. Who knows? Who knows what was going on back then. But it's always been the idea of, this greed. I would call it greed rather than the love of money. It's greed. It's like we want all this, even though it's extra. Like we want more than everybody else, and then to live some kind of elaborate TMZ life. But if you look at the people on like a show like TMZ, I mean, really, what's that show focused on? It's usually the downfall of the people with a lot of money, right? Like they don't show like the footage of people's highlights and accolades, right? They show shit like what happened with Will Smith slapping the shit out of Chris Rock, people that have fallen, right, or are going through that. Like, look what they did to Britney Spears. I don't care what you got to say about her. I don't care for her music, but I think that poor woman has been through a lot. Like, I feel for her. I really honestly do. I mean, a lot of those people that have kind of fallen from grace, if you really knew what they went through, boy, I think you'd be surprised. I kind of even feel, even though I think that Hunter Biden, like for example, I think that dude just needs some help, right? Like I think he's been forced into a position by his father where he's been used as kind of like a pawn, That's kind of my look from the outside looking in. I could be wrong. I mean, I'm wrong all the time, so I'm not going to say that that's correct. I'm just saying that. I mean, everybody's talking bad about him and his habits, and I don't agree with his lifestyle. I don't agree with, the whole walking around naked all the time with guns and filming yourself paying off prostitutes and he's got a terrible tattoo artist. Whatever that thing is on his back is a bad deal. Hunter, give me a call, dude. I'll fix you up, man. We got to get you taken care of with that. I feel bad for the guy. I think that honestly he's been put in a position where, he's lost all his siblings. He lost his mom at a young age. He was in that car accident, lost his brother. But then he proceeded to, do what he did with his, with his brother's widow, which obviously that's there's a moral thing there, I suppose. I mean, but who's to say? I'm not her. I'm not him. I don't know. I mean, I can't really say. I'm not trying to pass judgment on people, but certainly, I think that the people that are in these positions need to, they need to behave in a way that, especially when you're talking about people that are like representative members of government, right? Like, they're supposed to represent us. I don't think Nancy Pelosi represents any of us. Is she a bad person? I don't know. I don't know her. I'll bet she's a nice, jovial old lady. She probably is. But she certainly lacks a lot of, I don't even know the term that I'm trying to think of, but like when COVID hit and she's in her $25,000 refrigerator showing people all her ice creams. Like, people are losing their jobs, their lives. People don't know, they're getting locked down, and she's eating ice cream that's like more ridiculously expensive than like all the food that I have in my fucking pantry, I mean, that's kind of in poor taste, I guess. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're going to put yourself in a position where you're representative of the people, then you should probably show some empathy, some sympathy, maybe try and identify a little bit. Now, like Hunter Biden, he was born into that situation, right? Like, he can't change the fact that he was born who he was, And his behaviors, though, he can certainly, he can have something to do with that. I think that it seems like the dude's tried to, he's tried to better himself. But I also think that he's been put in a bad place by his father. I think that he's been put out there to be the guy that he's kind of running behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Like, he's out there, he's wheeling and dealing, and dad's like calling off the dogs on him, right? That's kind of what I see with the situation. So I do have a little bit of empathy for that dude, because people do what they do. I'm trying to be better about this, about being judgmental of people, I mean, even like Joe Biden, I don't want to be judgmental of that dude, but the fact of the matter is what bothers me with him is his racist past. That's what really that's what gets me, you know, and that's what bothers me about him more than anything. I think, you know, other than that, he's probably a jovial, but he's a weird dude too. Like he sniffs hair, and I mean, I don't have a lot of tolerance for, you know, people that have been abusive. Now, this is all allegedly, but I mean, I watched that Tara Reid when she came out and talked about what happened, and that woman, I'm pretty good at reading body language, right? I didn't see a lot in her that said anything other than what she was saying was true. That's my problem with him more so than anything. I'd like to get behind the dude. I mean, and I don't wish him ill. I hope he gets through this COVID thing, and I hope he's all right, you know. But I mean, here's a dude. And he's of that age. I mean, dude's 80 years old. You know, I mean, you hit 80, and like every day is a gift from that. I mean, every day is a gift, regardless. It doesn't matter how old you are. But you come to a point in life where you start to realize that too. I mean, I've come to that point. I'm thankful for every day that I have, because, quite frankly, it's surprising that I do have them. And so I'm thankful that I get to do this. That I've got what I got, that I've been through what I've been through, and that I've, you know, made it out the other side, and that you know, really I don't have a lot to complain about. You know, things seem to work out. I guess is what I'm saying. I don't know how, they just do. And I've kind of learned that as time goes on too, that stress is something that, you know, it's like you got to let that shit go, because it's going to play out the way it's going to play out, and it's going to be okay. And I'm sure this will be okay too, that's going on over here. Everybody's talking about World War III. I don't think it was a wise decision. I don't understand why we needed to spend, I mean, quite honestly, fiscally, anyhow, we're in the middle of a really hard financial time. A lot of people are suffering. People are really suffering out there. I see it every day. You know, all of us are. We're all having a hard time with things. I mean, every day is a different battle, you know? And so for these people to go out and just take these arrogant trips all over the planet on our dime, they're using taxpayer money. It just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't resonate with me, and I don't see a purpose in it, especially when it comes down to doing something like this that's just going to cause this controversy and this problem. Now, maybe that's the idea, you know? I mean, there's always a grand design. There's a man behind the curtain, you know what I mean? And I don't know his purposes, but there always is. And a lot of times the purpose is to cause all sorts of unrest and speculation on people's parts, you know. Personally, I just don't see the reason why we're trumping this old lady all over why she's flying all over the damn, you know, the world. For what? What's she really doing? We've seen what she says when she gets behind the mic. I mean, it's like if you were at the old folks' home and you're watching your great grandmother like go off on some dude for, like, you know, stealing her knitted cap or something. I mean, it's kind. I mean, she's just a crazy old lady. Doesn't mean she's not a nice person. She probably is. I don't know. I don't know her. I'm not saying she's evil. You know, I mean, you know, I don't think there's a lot of people that. I mean, there's a small percentage of people that are, but I don't think she's one of them. But she's certainly, you know, she's certainly selfish in a lot of respects. And when you get in those positions of power as well, you get away with a lot of things. You know, you blur the lines. But I don't understand why we, you and me, are footing the bill for people like her or Joe Biden or whatever to fly all over the world. And for what? To fist bump the guy in Saudi Arabia? To piss everybody off in China? Have threaten a war? I mean, that to me. And then to say, well, we're the United States. We're not going to be threatened by it. You're not going to threaten it. Well, okay, that's fine. But we've abided by this one China thing since 1979. I mean, with the climate right now, I just don't even see what the reasoning is. And now they're talking about, I mean, to me, here's what it looks like. Taiwan has always been China. Taiwan is China. It's part of China. Okay? So, I mean, if they want to go in there and put in their government, that's their That's between Taiwan and that's between China. It's not our place. Where we get involved is from a monetary standpoint, from a trade standpoint. We're talking about goods and we're talking about that money. That's our motivation, right? We don't give a shit about the Taiwanese people. We don't care. I mean, quite honestly, I do. I want to see the best for everybody, but quite frankly, the reason that we're getting involved in this, the reason we're sticking our head in is because they're making these semiconductors, right? Now, I'm not sure what Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio looks like. I'm not making any insinuations. It'd be interesting to see. I've tried to look it up. I can't get much information about it. It's just kind of a curiosity to me. Like all these things, if you look at these things that go down like this, and this is an old cliche, but if you follow the money and you see who stands to benefit from certain moves that people make that maybe are inexplicable or doesn't make any sense to you, you need to break it down to the base issue, and that is money. So you got to look at that. Like, who stands to benefit from this, right? And then you can wrap your head around it. And sometimes that's very unclear. Like, I don't get who stands to benefit from this. That's why I'm looking at her going, why is she the one? Why is she the one? She's the third in succession in this country, right? We've got a president that's very unstable health-wise, right? He's just got tested positive for COVID twice in a matter of 2-3 weeks. His cognitive decline is very, very apparent. You can't deny it. The guy can't talk. He reads everything on the teleprompter. He falls upstairs. He falls off bikes that are stationary. He's not in good shape. They say he is. It's a bunch of BS. We got a vice president that just, like they've termed it, word salad. She comes out and she has one point, and then she just has some way of reiterating it over and over again, like the significance of the passage of time. You see, the thing with the significance of the passage of time is that you get old and you get, it's cognitive decline. It happens. Joe gets angry and yells and stuff, and he does get off my yard. He's easy to make fun of. I shouldn't make fun of him so much. But like I said, I just told you the reason why I have a general dislike for the man, and it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that he's an old dude. There's other things there. But then you got Kamala Harris. This is a woman that her answer to homeless children showing up either tardy or truant or absent from school who were homeless, her answer was locking the parents up. Now, what kind of compassionate answer is that? And she thought it was funny. That's what she was talking about doing when she was working as the general attorney, or the attorney general in fucking California. That was her answer to homeless kids either being late, truant, absent, whatever you want to call it, not at school. Don't you think that a homeless family, if you're trying to raise a kid and you're homeless on the streets in like San Francisco or whatever, there's a lot more things going on than getting that kid of yours to school, even though your kid should, but what are you going to do? You're living on the street, come on. That comes down to another issue that's at the bottom of all of this in my mind. I think that in this country, here's our problem. We've got like 550-some thousand people that are homeless right now. And we're taking this money and we're wasting it on things like $90 million in securities so this woman can go fly around Asia and potentially start World War III. We've allocated almost $60 billion to Ukraine. Now, am I compassionate? Do I feel bad for what the people in Ukraine, the innocent people, have gone through? Of course I do. What about the 14,000 that have been shelled and picked off since 2014 in the Donbass region and nobody's done nothing about it? Nobody has anything to say about them. I don't think that we should be killing each other. I think we should be taking care of one another. And I think that, if we're going to have these borders, these boundaries that define us as countries, then I think that it's our leaders' responsibility and it's our personal responsibility to make sure that we're taking care of one another. And when we have over 550,000 people. When you look at Skid Row in LA, when you look at San Francisco, when you look at Seattle, when you look at New York City, when you look at these bigger cities and what's going on, and the lives that these people are living in this country that's supposed to be the most wealthy and the best place to live on the planet. When you look at what's going on our southern border, when you look at these issues, these humanitarian issues that are happening right here in our backyard, and we're not taking care of them, then how are we supposed to take care of anything else? We have the resources. We've got plenty of oil. But we have a leader that is so proud and so set on doing things that, for some reason he thinks he needs to do, that we've forsaken ourselves, I mean, people are hurting. People are suffering in this country. This is not all just, we and fun. Anybody who's been to the grocery store knows what I'm saying. You know what you're walking out of there with $100 if you go and spend $100 and then you're getting stuck. You got to go to Walmart. I mean, I got to go shop there most of the time now. I don't like shopping there. I don't like Walmart. I don't really like Albertsons, but guess what? The big corporations have taken out the small mom and pop grocery store. We don't have one of those. We don't even have one of those here anymore. You have no option. This town where I live here, this town used to have a lot of small stores, small businesses downtown that were specialized in different things. And it was always a good time to go shopping because you go in and you knew the people that owned the shops, right? Like you knew them, like they were your friends, like, you had some kind of connection with them in one way or another, whether it be through school, sports, what have you, whatever, church, you name it, any number of things. And we don't have that now. In this little town, we got Walmart and we got Albertsons, big ass corporations. And the people that work at Walmart, they're saying, they're making a lot more money out there now. And I'm glad that those people are making more money. But when you look at the inflation rate and you compare it to the wage increase, they're still coming up short. So it ended good. You know what I mean? It's not that great. I mean, if you're still coming up short, they can say, there's all these jobs and this. And people have opted out. People in this country have opted out. They're like, I don't want to. I'm not punching a clock. I'm one of them. I will never punch a clock for anybody ever again. If it's not my endeavor, it's not something I want to do, then I'm not doing it because life is too short. And I think that a lot of people have come to that realization. I think the pandemic did that for a lot of people. They realized, holy shit, this can all just be gone like that, like it's done. And what's important? Is the money important, or are relationships? Is family important, or relationships with friends important, or is it about making that buck? Because at the end of the day, if you'd spend your life chasing that dollar bill, what do you got at the end? What do you got? When you go out, when you check out, I firmly believe this. What you have is the memory of those you loved, and those that loved you. And that's what you have. And that's it. That's what you leave here with. You don't leave here with all this shit. I'm not going to leave here with all this stuff. It's going to be sitting here while I'm gone. And quite honestly, we all know that can happen in a matter of seconds. It can happen as soon as you walk out that fucking door. It can happen while you're sitting here. It can happen like that. So, what I'm getting at is we got to guard our treasures. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. We got to guard our treasures. Our kids are our treasures, okay? Our friends are our treasures. Our family is our treasures. The people that we occupy this rock that's hurtling around this fireball at breakneck speeds with what purpose in mind? Like, what is the point? Ask yourself, what is the point? What's the point of your life? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? There's a lot of honorable things out there. But if it doesn't come down to love and compassion, and not only for the people close to you, but for those around you, because everybody's fighting a battle you know nothing about. And so to perpetuate these wars and take our resources and put them into things that blow up other people, there's a reason there's these disagreements. And it comes down, basically what it comes down to is economics, if you look at it. And we're talking about scarcity, There doesn't have to be scarcity. There's plenty of abundance on this rock. But what we have to do is we all have to figure out how we're going to make it so everybody's taken care of. Everybody deserves a shot. Everybody deserves to have a happy, peaceful existence. Kids don't need to be born into abject poverty and disease and starvation and, these dictators that just make people's lives miserable. I mean, look at the we got fucking slave markets in fucking Libya, for fuck's sake. In 2022, should we have open air slave markets? Look into why that happened. Look at those folks. Do they deserve any less than you or I? They didn't choose that. Just like I didn't choose to be born as a white male in Juneau, Alaska, and grow up in Wyoming. That was nothing I had anything to do with. Just like any place where you're at in your life, you had not a lot to do with it either. I mean, yeah, you form who you are as you grow up. You know what I mean? And people have different scenarios and situations, but it doesn't mean that we're not deserving of compassion and love. You know what I mean? And so these ideas of war and this talk of this, these nuclear things and all this stuff. Why do we need to do that? I don't care if there's 1.4 billion people in China. There's enough for all of them. There's enough for all of us. There's enough for all of us on this rock. And until we figure out a way to do that, until we figure out a way to make sure that everybody not only has what they need, but what they want, right? Like, that's all I'm saying. Your life is short. It should be fulfilling. It should be spent doing something that you love, and something that not only feeds you and gives you what you need, but something that gives to others, And I mean, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to do with this whole endeavor. And I screw up and I say things that are messed up and screwed up, and for that I apologize. I'm just like everybody else, probably worse, but I'm not afraid to admit it, because I know who I am underneath, and I don't have any problem with it. But things I like to do. I mean, I spent my life working construction, beat myself up. That's all I've ever done, and I'm enjoying. Now I play music every day. I write every day. I do this podcast, which, I mean, you think it sucks or you don't. I'm hoping that you think it doesn't. Hoping it gives you some kind of value. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it's certainly not my intention to do something that doesn't bring value. That's the bottom line. And it makes me happy to do it. So, with that in mind, I'm probably going to sign off here. Hopefully this whole thing doesn't play out to be some kind of a nightmare, Maybe Nancy Pelosi's over there trying to make peace or something. I don't know. I don't understand. It seems like in this country, like we're the judge of everybody else. And I think that we should probably do a little more introspection. We should probably do a little self-inventory. We should probably, as a country, look into what we got going on here, because we got a lot of people that need help. They need taken care of. They need some love. They need a hand up. They just need somebody to help, make a difference, And we have enough to do that. And it's not like we all got to live in the same stupid size house or apartment or whatever. We have enough for everybody to have what they need, and we have enough for everybody to have what they want. And think about how much better society is if people are able to go and do the things that they feel called to do, right? People are called in all sorts of different directions, Life is too short to spend it, doing something that just pays the bills, right? Like, that's not a life. Like, that's a job. I don't ever want to have a job ever again. And I hope you all feel the same way, because I think a job is nonsense. I think we all have a calling, and I think that's what we should strive to find and follow. And hey, maybe sometimes it takes having a job to get there. It took that for me to be able to get the things that I have, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into everything, But when you get there and you recognize it, you can certainly, go the direction that you want to go. And I know for me personally, I've been trying to find that in my life for a long time. I never knew. And with the influence of some good people, such as my good friend Charlie Caperton, Kel Joshua, Christian Williams. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of the influential people in my life. That's every single star that I have tattooed on me is for one of those people, and I have a whole list. And I think I've got 83 of them. And the list just keeps growing because I keep meeting, more people that are influential and just good people, And everybody's got the capacity to be that, So I guess maybe that's the thing that we got to strive for, is try to be that person that brings out that good part of everybody, because everybody's got that inside of them. Sometimes it doesn't foment, it doesn't come out because of their circumstances, And it's real easy to be resentful. So it's tough to let go of some of those resentments, But I tell you what, when you do, it sure does make things a lot easier. So with that in mind, I mean, I do hope that Pelosi gets back home. I hope we figure all this out. I hope that there comes a point in time here, and there also comes a time where hope is not what it's about. It's about actually doing something. And I'm sitting here, I'm writing every day about these type of things, like what would need to happen. Because this is not sustainable. What we're doing is not sustainable. The financial system is not sustainable. And that's what it comes down to. If you ask yourself what your biggest stress is, and I say this all the time, but I'm going to keep repeating myself, but if you ask yourself what your biggest stress in life is, what causes animosity between you and your loved ones, you and your wife, you and your husband, you and your kids, what causes you to snap about it? Most of the time it's got something to do with money, right? So what do we do think about it. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, even the people that, it doesn't matter how much of it you make, because you can make you could make 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 times more than me, and you'd still be miserable. Some of the richest people I know are the most miserable out there. And some of the people that don't have anything are the most joyous, most happy, and most respectful, and just gracious, you know what I mean? So, food for thought. How do we change it? How do we get out of this rut? Because we are in a rut. This money thing, this financial system that we're in, it's not sustainable, and it's coming to an end. I hate to say it, and that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Really it is. Think about it. Put some thought into it if you have a chance. If not, that's fine too, Anyway, know that one way or another, you got a friend at the Mike Files, 52 miles east of Jellystone Park in Coyote, Wyoming. As I end it every time, be good or be good at it. In all things, be kind and do no harm. And I've recently added this: if you do harm, which we all do, try and make it right as quick as you can. All right? Okay. Peace out. Remember that too. You're just a small speck out there, wherever that arrow might be.